All right, so today we're diving deep into the career of Davide La Sala, a visual effects artist and creative technologist.
Yeah, and the listener has provided quite a bit for us to look at.
They sent us his website, his LinkedIn, even some YouTube videos. It looks like we have a lot to unpack here.
Absolutely, it's quite a mix.
From what I've seen so far, it seems like he's a real visionary.
I'd agree with that, definitely.
I mean, he's worked on everything from blockbuster films like Guardians of the Galaxy to, get this, developing apps for robots.
Really impressive range, I've got to say.
So, where do you think we should begin this deep dive?
Well, his website mentions that he started in Turin, Italy.
Okay, so Turin, Italy, got it.
And it seems that his fascination with technology began pretty early.
Oh, like from childhood?
Yeah, a childhood passion for robotics and animatronics, it seems.
You know, that's pretty cool. Not many people can say that's where their journey began.
Right. And this interest in electronics actually led him to pursue a technical education.
Makes sense if you're that into electronics.
But then something interesting happens in the late 90s.
Okay, late 90s, what's happening?
Computer graphics become more accessible.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, things were getting a bit easier back then.
Exactly. And he makes this strategic shift towards CG.
Ah, so he's seeing the writing on the wall, so to speak.
It's almost as if he sensed the big shift happening in the industry.
Like he had this intuition, this foresight about where things were headed.
And this intuition paid off pretty quickly, too.
So he starts working with CG, and then what happens?
Well, at just 18 years old, he lands a job working on a music video.
18 years old, wow. That's pretty impressive.
Right. And it wasn't just any music video. This was for Eiffel 65's Blue.
Blue, wait, I know that song. Da-ba-dee-da-ba-da.
That's the one.
Okay, now that's a pretty big gig for an 18-year-old.
It was a huge deal. It was one of the first entirely CGI music videos in Italy.
So he's a pioneer in the field already at that age?
Absolutely. He was really ahead of the curve spotting those opportunities.
That's amazing. So after Blue blows up, I'm assuming things really take off for him, right?
Yeah, he goes on to work at several companies in Italy.
Do you remember any of the names?
I do. Bliss Comedia, Just 11, and Lumix Studios.
Okay, those are some names I haven't heard before.
But at each one, he's honing his skills in character rigging and animation.
So he's really, really getting into the nitty-gritty of the craft.
Absolutely. And you know what else is interesting?
What's that?
During this time, he also starts teaching.
Teaching? Like as a professor?
Yeah, animation courses at the Academy of Arts in Venice.
Wow, so he's not just working in the industry, but he's also giving back, sharing his knowledge.
Exactly, and that shows a lot about his character, I think. Even at that stage, he's committed to helping others grow.
It really does. So we see this dedication to his craft and to teaching, and then his career takes him to London, to a frame store.
And that's where he starts working on those big studio productions.
Remember we talked about Disney's Underdog?
Oh, yeah. And there's The Tale of Despero, too.
Oh, yeah, I loved that movie.
Yep, it's a really great film.
So, at Frame Store, he was working as a character TD, right?
Oh, that's right.
And that role is pretty crucial in the animation pipeline, isn't it?
Absolutely. They're the ones who prepare the digital characters for animation.
That sounds like a pretty technical role.
Oh, it is. It requires a deep understanding of both movement and technology.
So a lot of artistry involved as well.
Absolutely. You gotta have that artistic eye.
Okay, so we have him mastering this technical, artistic role, working on major films, but then things get even bigger.
Yeah, he lands a job at DreamWorks Animation.
Now we're talking. I mean, DreamWorks is legendary in the animation world.
It's a big step.
And I'm sure the projects he worked on were huge.
Oh, they were. Rise of the Guardians, The Croods, Turbo.
Wow. I mean, those are some of the biggest, most technically advanced animated films out there.
And you know what's really interesting? He brought his passion for robotics to DreamWorks, too.
So even while he's working on these massive animation projects, he's still tinkering with robots on the side.
Exactly. He actually used his robotics expertise to program NAO robots for presentations at DreamWorks.
Hold on. He programmed robots to give presentations.
You gotta see this. He has videos on his YouTube channel.
Wait, he has a YouTube channel?
Yeah, Dax2K, that's his username.
Yeah.
He shows off this modified NAO robot he calls Dix.
Okay, so he has a robot named Dix.
Yeah, he repainted it, added those rubber grips to make it easier to hold things.
I'm starting to get a picture of this guy. he's not just a technical whiz, he's also got this playful creative side to him.
Totally. And it's not just about playing around either.
So there's more to it than meets the eye.
He modified Dix's hands to increase grip strength, you know?
Oh, so it could hold things more securely.
Right. But he did it without interfering with the hardware at all.
That's clever. That's really clever. I gotta see these videos.
You should. He's got Dix doing Tai Chi, reading the news, even playing games.
I can't even imagine.
It's a glimpse into a future where robots are just a normal part of life.
A future that he seems to be actively shaping.
Definitely. And he didn't stop at just modifying the robot.
What else did he do?
He developed apps for it too.
Oh, wow. So he's not just a hardware guy, he's a software guy too.
Absolutely. He created Now Smart, a voice-controlled assistant.
Kind of like a Siri for robots?
Yeah, something like that.
And wait, what else?
And then there's RadioBot, a personalized music butler.
A music butler. Now that's cool.
He even got the robot to interact with the internet and do all these complex tasks.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this guy who is clearly brilliant, but also really driven and passionate about pushing the boundaries of technology.
Yeah.
And then he makes a big decision.
He decides to leave Hollywood and join Oculus in London.
Wow. That's a big leap. Why would he leave such a successful career in animation?
This move shows his ability to recognize the power of emerging technologies.
Like, he sees where things are headed before everyone else.
Exactly. He saw the potential of VR and AR before it really hit the mainstream.
I mean, he was working with VR back in 2016, right? That's pretty early.
Very early. And his work on Oculus Rooms was really groundbreaking.
I remember Oculus Rooms. That was a social VR app, wasn't it?
Yes. And for the Samsung Galaxy S7, too.
Wow. Back then, the idea of having a social VR experience on a mobile device was
revolutionary.
Yeah, exactly. But I imagine it must have been incredibly difficult to create a VR experience for a phone back then.
Oh, absolutely.
The technology was still so new, and those phones didn't have nearly as much power as they do today.
It was a huge, huge challenge.
So how did they do it?
Well, they had to optimize everything.
Right, every single detail.
The tracking, the interactions, even the environments themselves all had to be carefully designed to work within the limitations of those phones.
It sounds like they were squeezing a universe into a tiny box.
Exactly. But they did it, and they did it well.
And then, from there, he moves on to Facebook's AR team.
And that's where his work on Face Mesh comes in.
Face Mesh, that's the 3D face tracking technology, right?
That's right.
The one that powers all those crazy Instagram filters.
Exactly. Those filters are fun and everything, but the underlying technology is incredibly powerful.
I never really thought about it that way. It's more than just about making funny faces, isn't it?
It's about democratizing access to AR.
Oh, I see. So it's about making this powerful technology available to everyone.
Exactly. And his work on Spark AR takes that even further.
Spark AR, now that's something I've played around with. It's Facebook's platform for creating AR experiences, right?
That's right.
And it's so easy to use. Anyone can create their own AR experiences with it.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. You don't need to be a coding expert or a tech genius.
So he's making these complex technologies accessible to everyday people.
And empowering them to become creators themselves.
It's amazing to see how he's shaping the future of AR, but he's also spoken a lot about the future of AI and robotics.
Right. He has some really interesting thoughts on how these technologies should be developed.
I remember watching his presentation at AWEU 2019. He talked about making AI and robots more approachable and relatable.
He has this unique perspective, blending his technical expertise with this deep understanding of human behavior.
Yeah, and he had a really interesting take on why Siri didn't quite live up to its potential.
He argued that it lacked visual embodiment, right?
Exactly. He believes that emotional engagement and visual stimuli are crucial for how we interact with technology.
It makes sense for visual creatures.
And speaking of visual engagement, we can't forget his personal project, Vino.
Oh, Vino. That's a classic.
A Raspberry Pi-powered personal assistant housed in a wine bottle.
That's Davide for you. Playful, creative, and always pushing the boundaries.